There we go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Denise Lockwood. I own the Racine County Eye, and this is Heather Ossiani, my partner in crime.
Yes, we co-founded the website 11 years ago.
We did, and this is our guest for today is Chester Todd, who is
Free Palestine.
he is running for the 1st Congressional District under the Green Party. This is the first.
It's our first
First live video with coffee
with candidates.
candidates.
So, Chester, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So, if you just want to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background.
We want to make sure we're talking loud, though.
Yep, talk loud. We got to talk loud. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background.
Well, my background, I'm Chester Todd. Came to Racine in 1951 from Kentucky. Been here ever since. Moved around a little bit. I'm not a politician, so.
What does that mean? You're not a politician.
Well, that means I'm not a crook. Not what, but.
We're starting off really good.
Yeah, strong start.
I'm a little different than the average person, a candidate running for office. Just a little bit different.
A little bit different. So,
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and start into questions.
Yep. You want to take the first one?
Basically, we want to really understand what inspired you to do this.
Well,
To run for office, because you have quite the background, but it's not like a typical politician.
No.
No, because you're not a politician.
My campaign manager and friend Pete Carters, who used to be on the Common Council here, lives up in Mosquito. We were on the telephone one morning a few months ago, and I had him on speaker, and the wife was sitting across the room, and he says, "Why don't you run for Congress with the Green Party?" And I said, nah. So my wife says, "Why not? You're 82 and you have nothing to lose." Well, that started me. I already have a bone to pick with the Democratic Party, as you well know. You know me.
But our audience doesn't, so let's talk about that.
Well, I feel that the Democratic Party continuously comes into the black neighborhoods every 2 to 4 years. And make all kind of outrageous promises that they know they can't keep in the first place. And then they steal the political capital, but they never give us a receipt at the end of the administration stamped in full. And I'm trying to wake black people up, disenfranchised whites and brown, that this doesn't work for us.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe that a little bit more? What does that mean it doesn't work for us?
Well, number one, understand we're in a capitalistic system. It's a multiracial capitalistic system, and those at the bottom, according to the class status that you're in, you're just trapped there. And you're not going anywhere. And the very fact that under the capitalistic system, no one controls their lives. And so I feel that my people, the black people, in the mass, do not understand that. And that makes us very gullible to the manipulation of the parties. Now, as we know, as those of us sitting here know, the Republicans don't want our vote. They never canvass in black neighborhoods. And so they're telling us, we don't want your vote because we don't want to owe you anything. And that's cool. And I admire them for that. I admire them.
Because it's up front.
Yeah, just coming right up front and say, hey, we don't want anything to do. We're not going to do anything for you.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that like, when you're talking, they don't canvass in black neighborhoods, are you talking about your neighborhood? Are you talking about like Racine in general? Like,
I'm saying in general, I very rare have I ever been have I ever opened my door and there was a Republican canvasser standing there.
Were you talking about Republicans or Democrats?
Republican.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the Democrats, they'll come, and when they come to my house, I just point, because you have Chester Todd for Congress signs all over.
Mhm.
And so when they come to my house and say, well, Vice President Harris, I said, take a look right there. It says Chester Todd. Oh, that's you. Yes, that's me. And I'm Green Party, so you're excused because I don't need to hear your crap. For many years, blacks had heard the same thing from the party every 4 years. The same thing. We might work on reparations. When Harris was interviewed just recently by a black interviewer at that, and talking about reparations, she gives us the regular old Democratic spiel. We're going to have form committees and a commission and no. So at the end of the interview, she says, am I going to do anything that would help blacks only? No. And so I'm saying, out of all of the contributions that black people have made to this society, we can't get one win. Can't we win one thing? And it's just, that's the Democrats. That's the game that they play.
Okay.
Good.
What would reparations look like for you?
Money. It would mean money. And see, here again, let's go into what the Democrats and what they propose. Well, let's take some of the money, put it into education, some into building black businesses. And no, give me the money. I want to build generational wealth. And the only way I can do that is if you give me the money, and then I'll plow, as we're talking about the 40 acres.
Figuratively.
Yeah.
Your 40 acres.
Yeah, I'll plow my 40 acres and for my own success. But you watch what's going to happen if it ever becomes a reality that someone can push through a reparations bill. It's going to be split up so much that we'll never see money.
Well, one of the things that I also, and we've talked a lot about the city of Racine being kind of more of a microcosm for what's kind of happening all across the United States, because Racine County is very diverse. So the city of Racine is about 23% Black, 23% Hispanic, Latinx. And then we've got the rest of the county is kind of more white, right?
Yes.
And you've got really big pockets of poverty in the city of Racine. But one of the things that I am noticing is there is a lot more money coming to the city for things like lead pipes.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a lot more
Very
money
important.
for small business lending, and
Also, most of the road projects that we're seeing are also coming from the Biden administration through those infrastructure bills, that have been put through. But sorry, go ahead.
But you still, we're the second worst place in the country for Black people to live.
In the
Country.
in the number one worst state.
It's Milwaukee.
The state.
Yeah.
The state itself is
Right, because our rate of incarceration is much higher.
Yes.
Our school to prison pipeline is ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And our Black and brown students get suspended and expelled at a higher rate than any other.
But you have some pretty big insight into this with your previous lives.
Yeah.
So can you speak a little bit more to how your viewpoint influences your potential policy making and some of the things that you've done as a living and your background? Because I think that's interesting.
Well, part of my background, as far as being a drug addict, don't forget, when I was in the Navy, crucified so much at 17 years old, being called nigger every day.
You need to shut up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've been called nigger every day for 2 years in the Navy. Set me on a course of drug use. Now, normally a drug addict will give an excuse, but this really, at 17, being the youngest person on that ship out of 600 and only 11 black, drugs were the only way I could build courage to face it. So I won't go through all of that. But my drug addiction lasted till I was 47 years old. During those years, though, I experienced a lot of different lifestyles, okay? Because being a junkie, you have to have that experience. You have to know how to shift and how to change. So I have a lot of white friends. I have black friends. But they wouldn't probably be the kind of people, some of them, that I wouldn't say they were everyday people, okay?
Mm.
You know. So, yeah, the one thing I think where you're going at is the people that I have been able to watch them function. They were supposed to be all of this or that. I don't want to call names that I grew up under coming up. And now I see their names on buildings and I see them being, and they're all dead and they're being promoted, their names. And I know the real story behind these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wouldn't call names because I know they got relatives.
But you, well, like, that lived experience translated into,
making me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that influence your policy making then? If you were elected, how does your lived experience, how do you see that helping you forward into policy?
Okay. It wouldn't help me so much because, and that's the one thing I want people to understand. It's not about Chester.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the party that I'm in.
Right.
And I get questioned quite a lot about, you write so much and preach so much about white America and how bad it is. Why are you in a party that's all white in this state? The state party, I'm one of maybe 3 black people in the whole state in the Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So people ask me that. Well, what I've done, I went to the entity that I believe that is the answer for liberation of my people, for equality. I don't see any way that blacks will ever achieve freedom and equality under capitalism. I just don't see it. It's impossible. Although we do know that capitalism has a built-in self-destructive, it'll have to implode, you know.
Say more about like the specific policies that Green Party has that said this fills the checkbox for you.
All right. It's a socialistic party. That and although it might sound simplistic, but if you woke up in the morning, let's say I worked here for you,
Mm-hmm.
all right, and we were like an employee-owned company. So that's what we're trying to show people. You would have part ownership of the society, just like I would have part ownership of this company. Okay, today, no one has, even in the middle class, you don't own anything in this society. You might have a house, you don't own the land on it that you own. They can move you off of there in a minute. Foxconn, look what they did. moving people's houses and stuff.
Well, that was eminent domain. That's
Yeah, that's true.
so. But when you're talking about like everybody has a piece of the pie,
Mhm.
does that then translate into Green Party policy
Yes.
positions
Mhm.
in like you support legal access to abortion,
Yes,
legalize marijuana?
right.
It's more of a when the tide rises, all the boats float, but government stays out of your business, sort of a thing.
Yeah, kind of close to libertarian. Had to back up a little bit there. But I just think that under what this capitalistic system we live under now is a bunch of bamboozlement. One man has $258 billion, you know? Another one has $198 billion.
Who are you talking about?
The Tesla guy.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, and then
But he's not running for office.
he's not running for office. He's running offices. You know.
We're talking about the political influence.
Yeah, yeah.
Corporate.
Mhm.
Corporate.
And and we say political influence. Another way of putting it is that money is power.
Mhm.
That's power. And see, that's where I fault both parties. And I know it seems like I pick on the Democrats, and I do for a specific reason. They're the party that says we're going to be honest, we're going to be above board with you. And they're not.
How are they not?
Well, let's just take the simple thing that we're talking about, reparations. They don't have it on their platform. And if they do, they don't ever do anything about it. We have it on our platform. We have a black caucus that works diligently on the wording that goes into reparations in the Green Party. That's what drew me to the Green Party. I had been voting for it since the 90s. I voted social, what was it? The social federalist, I believe it was, until I discovered Jill Stein.
Mhm.
And when, actually, Howie Hawkins too. So I tagged into the Green Party. And the only time that I haven't voted for him was the Obama years. Because I got caught up into that, which I wish I never had.
Why?
Well, you see, how I'm going to explain this to you. The classifications, let me go back. People look at, and we say black people, and that means we're monolithic and we all think alike. No, we don't. Okay. No, we don't. That is an absolute lie. So when I see someone like Obama, which I cried that night too, when he was declared.
When he was elected, yeah.
I said, oh, that's wonderful and everything. And I don't know, I guess the smoke screen had got to me, because what am I expecting this man to do? Now, in reality, we know that the president's more or less a puppet.
Well, he's in the executive branch. They don't make laws. Yeah.
Right. So, but then there's a thing, a cultural thing that says, I'm a black man. No matter where I go, sitting here even, I'm taking my blackness with me. You can't take that away, all right? And maybe this is dying out. Please believe me, this feeling that I have is dying out. The younger blacks today, a lot of them, I can't be that general, but a lot of them have no loyalty to being black. It's another facade thrown up by this capitalistic system, and that they really believe that they can get ahead, and they don't understand the full what's coming for them. They don't understand. Look, I wear this. These are people of color. This country is committing genocide on people of color around the world, and especially in Gaza. Now, why would I, as a black man, condone that? You know, you got blood in my hand with my tax dollars telling people who damn near look like me, who favor me, who like me more than the people that I live around, that I vote for. And then when you see a black person in a position of power, let's name some. Jasmine Crockett, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hakeem Jeffries, all right?
Say more about who these people are so that people understand it.
Okay, Hakeem is the Democratic leader.
Yeah, he's the Democratic leader of the House. Jasmine Crockett is a very outspoken representative from Texas, I believe.
Yes, very, and when I first seen her stand up against Margie
Taylor, yeah.
and I said, wow, man, that sister's really humming. Then I hear her say, well, yeah, we favor Israel. I said, what? Now I drop you. And then Hakeem, he does the same thing. Well, Israel has a right to exist. No one said they didn't have a right to exist. All we're saying is that you, Hakeem, you, Jasmine, you, Harris, you're part of the same bunch of people who are condoning this war, and we're the ones at war. Israel's not at war. They're our proxies. We're the one pouring all the money into it.
So briefly, also I wanted to talk a little bit more about how this position, the Congressional District #1,
Mm-hmm.
How we address some of those pain points in Racine County, also with regards to immigration,
Okay.
housing, the economy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see your role as a potential representative to help address some of those issues?
Well, I would certainly probably come from more of a socialistic stance, but I would, the housing, for instance, should be free housing. You know, I mean,
Free housing.
Well, I won't say free, but certainly you would be able to.
Can I interrupt you for just a moment?
Yes.
Because this is something I think that we've been coming up against as we are reporting on things. So for those of you who don't know, Denise and I have been approaching these elections out of 3 primary buckets. They are immigration, housing, and the economy/inflation. But I also think we need to include education and healthcare in there as well. And so my understanding is the Green Party stance is that housing, education, healthcare, food, and dang it, there was another one.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I'm having one of those.
Yeah. Anyway, there were 5.
Mm-hmm.
There were 5, and they're not privileges; they're rights.
They're right.
And so, how do you, as a representative in Congress, being if you're elected at the Green Party, you probably the only one.
I'd be the only one.
Yeah. So how do you work with people to get them to see more of your side of it? Like, how do you if I'm Republican, Denise is a Democrat, and you're a Green Party, right? And I'm not saying that's what we are. That's not what we are. I'm saying, as an example, if we're in Congress, which we are not.
You gotta figure out how to
Yeah.
win friends and influence people.
Yeah,
right.
Figure out, because
They'll
you
cover
can
you.
think,
Yeah.
which I want you to tell that story real quick eventually, but like, how do you get along with people knowing that you're not aligned politically, and that political clout has to be able to meet the needs that you think, but also get it done, right? Because that's a problem.
If I elected, then that would mean there'd be quite a few people in this district that would agree with a socialistic point of view of government. I don't say everyone would, and it'd be an uphill battle. Like you said, only one person in there.
But there is only one Chester.
Huh?
There is only one Chester.
Yeah, there's only one Chester. You're right. I probably laughed.
Chester and I have known each other a long time.
I tell you what, I wouldn't be making too many public appearances. I'd be lucky if it just hit my ear. But no, I hear you, and it would be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
It'd be the thing is, if Jill got in, see, if Dr. Stein got in, that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
You see, what would happen then? And she's a wonderful person. And she has a very powerful vice president running it.
So so you're putting a lot of energy into doing this work to get elected, but you know the chances are really good that you're not going to get elected, but your purpose is to help the other parties kind of like wake up. So what do you want them to wake up to?
Okay, first I think the wake up thing has to come from within their constituency that would force them to wake up.
To what?
To the real needs of the communities that they're stakeholder. Us, Black, we're the stakeholders of that party. Without Black votes, they're through. They can forget it. And that's one thing that drew me into this race, is that I want to show the Democrats that you don't have us tied to the Democratic tree. And now, Democrats already know that. They're very good at manipulating the Black communities around the country. The thing is, Blacks don't realize that they're tied to the tree, like the elephant. You know, I always give you that one where if you go to the circus, you see an elephant sitting there and it's got a rope or a chain tied to this pole. And you say, well, why don't the elephant just kick and go free? It's because it was raised from a baby tied to a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so it don't never think about escaping. And Blacks are in that same status with the Democratic Party. We know the Republicans don't want our vote, and so we turn over here to the other Republicans because that's what they are. They're the same party. Here's the power and the money. Both parties are trying to get here. Power and money. Money and power. That's all they want. They don't want anything else. Do you really think that the Democratic Party want to see Blacks free to the extent that they have generational wealth? No, they don't care about that. They're not thinking about that.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that, only because one of the things that we know that's happening in the city of Racine.
Mm-hmm.
So, like an example is the ARPA money, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, and the infrastructure.
The Infrastructure Rehabilitation and then the Inflation Reduction Act.
That's what I
There's
mean.
3 of them.
Oh, that's right. This is why we're
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so there's millions of dollars coming to that Lincoln King Community Center.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is $68 million.
Okay.
All right. That includes a community center and a federally qualified health center. Now, one of the major issues that the city of Racine has is access to mental health care, physical health care, and a lot of it boils down to they have the ability, if they have a federal qualified healthcare facility, they and then have the ability to bill at a higher rate for Medicaid.
Okay.
All right, because the state is controlled largely by Republicans.
Mhm.
They've decided not to accept the federal
The federal expansion money.
for healthcare.
Yeah.
And this has been a major issue with regards to people being able to access care, because we know statistically that people of color have had a lot of struggles with getting access to care.
Right. Right.
And this has translated into a lot of health issues. And if you're not working, if you're not healthy, you're not working, you may not be mentally stable. Lead poisoning, childhood lead poisoning is a massive issue in the city of Racine.
Mm-hmm.
We have 10,000 people of the 55,000 people of working age that don't have a GED.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The underbelly of all of that is the lead pipes, because lead, when we know that when a child has been exposed to lead, it's a neurotoxin, and if you want to set up a child for not being successful, to be incarcerated, that's typically a major
And there's
issue.
you also have to look at the racial disparity in school funding in terms of how Unified is funded, for instance, as opposed to, let's use Waterford as an example, right? Here in Racine County. Because education is funded through property taxes, and housing is generally worth more out in Waterford as the example than it is here in the city. But also you have to look at, and along with lead pipes, is the lack of or the existence of racial disparity in understanding childhood issues like ADHD, ADD, autism, things like that. Because when a child is losing their mind in class, black and brown kids, they're labeled a problem. White kids are, let's find the problem.
Now, one of the things that is happening, though, is you have more federal dollars and also state dollars that are being funneled to the Racine Unified School District for mental health access. But it's still not up to the standard of which I know that this has been a big issue. We just were doing a candidate forum for NAMI on Tuesday. So, like, how do you, from a legislative standpoint, address those kinds of issues?
It's a big one, I mean, there. Let me not answer that question right now, and let me go back to some of the things that you talked about. Lead poisoning. And we know that
Speak up just a little.
And we know that we had talked about what happens with lead poisoning, and a friend of mine in Milwaukee works diligently at that, trying to bring about some solution. All of that being said, everything that you two have pointed at, there's one thing that is missing for blacks, and that is the illegitimate birth rate at 70 or 72% of all black children born in America are born to a single parent. And so everything else that you're talking about comes after that, because the detriment of being born into a single parent home in America, and especially with black skin, is the basis of the problems that face black people. The violence, the poverty, and everything. So we don't have men in the home now. Now I understand.
The system was designed that way, though.
Yeah, of course. So
say more about that, because I think people need to understand the barriers to receiving assistance.
When
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you my first wife, God bless her, she's dead, and she's a wonderful person. When I started dating her, when I started dating her in the early 60s, about 60, she had 3 children and she was on the welfare. She had 3 wonderful boys and lived over on Randolph Street. Now, you couldn't check if you checked with her or with a lady on the welfare at that time. You couldn't have any male clothes in the house. You know, a pair of socks, a pair of shoes, and the case manager did not have to warn you when they were coming. They could show up at any time, go through the house like they were the police, and say, "Oh, whose is this?" You know, and if it's a man's suit or whatever, you're off the welfare. So that was a destruction of the nucleus of the family, the black family. That was part of it. Okay. I don't want to sound like Byron Donald too much, but so now let's move it forward to today because each generation, and I've been able at this age, at 82, to see these changes take place. Now we got, let's take Chester, and he's 13 years old, and he got a mother and he got 2 sisters and a brother, but no father in the house. So this is a female dominated household. You should get up and go to school. So I go to school where I'm going right into the same environment, a female dominated environment. So I'm not getting any maleness to me. I know this sounds way out, but it is important. And I just told this morning to another person. I have a young guy live in my neighborhood, supposed to be a gang member out of Chicago. He's about 19, 20 years old. I asked him one day, I says, if you were at the George Floyd scene where the cop had the knee on this guy's neck, what would you have done? Nothing. He says, nothing. And I know this is going around and about, but please bear with me. So I said, well, he wouldn't have done anything. And one thing I've learned to do is when I'm talking to these kids is not compare the difference in time. It's not back in Chester's day, so things are different. But they are so different today that it creates confusion. So I go to my grandson, and as you know, I got 29 grandkids now. One of them died recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And maybe I did a recount. I got about 17, 18 great grandkids. Anyway, I asked this grandchild of mine, he's 21, 22. I said, what would you have done? Nothing. That would have been George Floyd's job. Now, see, but what I'm trying to show is that no man to teach you to stand up and be a man. No man to teach you to be loyal. In my day, we were loyalists, not in my day. And all of this, what we're talking about, all of these things interplay with that type of thinking. Okay, so it's a cultural difference. It's a cross-cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where number one, you say, well, why? If this kid had asked me, why should I have gotten involved? I could have easily told him because you have to understand, if George Floyd was white, he'd still be alive today, because a cop wouldn't have killed him like that. So everything that we're talking about interplays into the makeup of the lack of black manhood, if that makes sense to you. If that makes sense to you. The lack of being loyal at the uh, I hate to be viewed as a bigot, but it's not about me being a bigot or anyone being a bigot. It's just the point. There's two different Americas. It's a black and a white America. So white people can't help solve my problem psychologically. They can give me money to and help me. And I don't mean hand me money, but talking about, see, the lack. This is a capitalist system, which means you gotta have money to survive. That, in essence, is the answer to the whole situation. A better, okay, we're gonna have a health clinic over here, and then we're gonna help the mental health situation here, and da da da. But all of that means nothing. It means nothing until I can build some generational wealth in our community for our people. Then we can access those things because we can build those things.
But don't you think, because you said it's
one more thing.
Okay.
We can build them from a perspective that's beneficial to us. You have to understand, when you talk about mental health, you're talking about white people's mental health. You're not talking about my mental health, because and I don't mean you to, but you really don't give a damn about me and my mental health. The only thing that you worry about, white society would worry about, and I don't mean to be so general, about my mental health, is that I'm mentally equipped not to come to your house and kill you. You okay? Look what
so it's a different perspective.
Yes, yes.
And so what I wanted to ask though is, because you said it's not up to white people to take care of you psychologically, take care of black people psychologically, but white people built the systems in this country, and white people, Denise and I, we continue to benefit from those systems. So it actually is up to white people to dismantle those systems.
Yeah.
And so if you were elected, how do you go about that? What's the Carnegie thing?
Win friends and influence people.
Win friends and influence people to help do your part by chipping away at those systems to start taking them down.
Now, and it's strange that she would mention the book, because at the age, in the seventh, when I was in the seventh grade, which was 100,000 years ago, I was diagnosed that I had a third-year college level reading capacity. So there were no black teachers at that time.
Right.
So the white principal made me read How to Win Friends and Influence People every day. I had to go over and over the book. And I asked him, why are you making me read this book? He says, because your people will need this knowledge. Now, when we really study the book, it's not a book about being honest. It's a book that explains how to win friends, how to influence someone to see your way of thinking. All right. So far, blacks have been crippled in being able to show that. Now, here's the thing, though. Those in power, if you and I sitting here understand the discrepancies in this system, race-wise, class-wise, or whatever, we know they know, those up there, because they're the ones that facilitate everything that you and I do. We're not free, you know.
How are you not free?
You're not free. You're controlled by capitalism. Everything that you do, capitalism has an influence in it. All right?
Is capitalism all bad?
No, capitalists are. Capitalism isn't bad. I can actually see a socialistic, capitalistic type of democracy. I can see that working. I think I don't know which philosopher. I don't think Marx wrote on that, but that's possible. But see what's happening. You're black. You're white. I'm black. You're gay. I'm straight. Immigration. All of these facades thrown in front of us. Nothing happens in this society that is not economically based. All you have to do, and we all make this mistake, we see the problem up front here and we say, oh, wow, but we never trace it back to the money because it's money at the base of this problem. It's always that. All this immigration, these brown people coming into America, eventually going to become the biggest voting bloc in America. And there goes the white man's hold on money. They think they're scared of that. I mean, white women, for instance, they don't, look, I was talking to a guy the other day, he says, Harrison, I'm going to win. I said, what makes you say that? He said, they had a white woman running and she didn't win. Do you think they're going to let a black woman run? Win. Now that isn't necessarily the way I feel. I know there's a whole lot of other stuff to play within that, but we have two different, well, now that we're having the immigration, and I'm for immigration. And when I'm asked about what would you do at the border, I tell you quite frankly, I don't know what to do. If I look at it from the white perspective and say, hey, shut it down, too many of them people coming in here, then I'm going against my cultural nature. I'm going, those are brown and black people. They have walked 3,000 miles through jungles to get here on a promise that capitalism will make their life better. When I've been living here for 400, 500 years, and it ain't got better for me. And I don't know what makes them think it's going to get better for them. But it's better than what it was like when I moved from Kentucky. At 9 years old. I went to school with white kids here. Couldn't go to school with white kids down there. Couldn't even sit on the main floor of the theater with white people. Blacks had to sit in the balcony, which was a better view. It's things like that. I'm thoroughly sold on socialism. I really am. I think that's the only way that blacks will ever see anything close to equality. And that'll be simply because it'll be damn near even across the board. If, I know it sounds far-fetched, but it's better. There's other countries in this world that are much better suited for the type of society that I'm talking about. That there's other countries that are just better than we are. They treat their populace better,
I heard in the front side.
So do you believe in universal health care?
Almost definitely.
How do you think we can get there?
Well, stop sending over $95 billion to all these other countries. Oddity, Israel has universal health care since 1995. Who do you think's paying for that? We are. What is it? What's the other war going on? Ukraine. Someone was telling me, said, well, it's our money that pays for their pensions and their Social Security and all of that. Now, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll have to fact check some of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not economist.
So.
Out of all my knowledge. Oh, God.
Well, we're coming up on almost an hour.
Okay,
We got about 7 minutes.
okay.
We should talk a little bit about some of the other candidates, and we're actually going to be covering. We're going to have Brian Stiles.
Style.
Style.
Yes. So this is our first coffee with candidates, and Chester, thank you.
Mhm.
Really, truly, thank you for being our first victim of this. We appreciate you so much. But tomorrow we're talking with Representative Greta Neubauer, who is the Democratic incumbent for the 66th Assembly District.
You need more coffee.
Right, oh my God. And then we're also speaking with Al Kupsik, who is the Democratic candidate for District 33, which is a new assembly district, which is currently represented by Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. He's the Republican who's held that position for like 20 years now. Well, I could be.
Is Robin? Do we have Robin slated too?
No, but we will.
We're
'Cause
working on it.
we have heard from him, and he is going to do it. He just has to find a time that fits with his schedule. Next week, we are speaking with Representative Style, also from the 1st Congressional
Very
District.
personable young man. I met him the other night for the first time
Yeah.
at Whitewater University. And he came out of his lecture that he was giving just to say hello to me.
Oh,
Yes,
I love that.
uh,
Yeah, that's good. We're also speaking with Democratic candidate for the 1st Congressional District, Peter Barca, and Angelina Cruz, who is
Oh,
running
yes.
unopposed for the District 62. We are awaiting word from Kelly Clark, who is the independent candidate facing Robin Vos. We are awaiting Republican David DeGroot, who is facing, he is the current Mount Pleasant Village President. He is facing Greta Neubauer. Robert Whitkey, who is also running unopposed. And
I just voted for Greta. Well, she's a personal friend. Greta's a friend. She's a friend of mine.
Oh, you're killing
You
me.
know, and
Did you vote for Kamala?
pardon?
Did you vote for Harris?
Please. I voted in my party, Jill.
So let me ask you, I do have a question though concerning third parties.
Mhm.
People seem to be saying a lot, and I feel it, but I can't quantify it, right?
Mhm.
That this election seems to be way more important than a lot of other presidential elections.
Exactly.
Do you feel that a third party candidate for this election is, I don't want to say the right way to go because that's not really what I mean.
Mhm.
But what do you think the impact of that could be? A third party candidate on on an election where so much seems to be at stake.
I think, and Denise certainly knows my philosophy, a lot of my ideology. What I'm aiming at and what I think we are aiming at, we might not want to say it so loudly. In order to change this system, we're going to have to disrupt the system.
Mm.
And I'm willing to, and I catch a lot of flack for this, I'm willing to let him win again in hope that he will tear it down to rebuild it. Because we know when you say socialism, people say, oh, communism, and then
Yeah, they're two very different things.
yeah, they're two different. So we need, and I don't mean to be, it's not that simplistic, but those changes are going to come slow.
Mm-hmm.
But this system we got now, we've been trying to change it for 100 years, it won't change. So maybe we just need to let someone come along and destroy the thing, and then we rebuild it. And it's not that simplistic, I know, but pieces at a time. But that's what I see. I still vote for some Democrats, so I do.
Mhm.
I,
Like Greta.
yeah, like what I would. In fact, it was if I live to see another 4 years, and at 82, I'm not a real long time. I already got the guy Xavier take this seat, and run next time. And so someone come to me and said, "Well, if you're around, then we want you to run for that spot for Greta." And so I said, "I couldn't do that. I can't do that. She's a friend of mine. I can't do that. I know the necessity of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't do.
Okay.
I value friendship. I've had Democrats, some that that I won't call their name, that have come to me and said, what would it take for you to drop out? There was a debate scheduled on the Janesville radio station. The word come to me that the reason it never did come about was that Barker didn't want me in the debate, but Stiles said, well, he got to be in the debate because he's on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So Barker pulled out. And that's what I heard. I have no,
Okay.
And people have to understand, I am on the ballot. It's never been mentioned by any media.
That is not true.
I'm the first black.
We have so mentioned it.
Why didn't you let me know?
We have, haven't we?
No.
Oh, we're putting our election pages together now. That's right.
Yeah. I'm the first black to run on the ballot for CD1, of course. Now Glenn Moore, and I'm the first green.
Mm-hmm.
But don't count greens out. In New Jersey, there's 13 on the ballot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I want to just kind of wrap this up. I want to
Sure.
put a little tiny little bow on it because we're really grateful for all of your insight. We're super excited to be able to do this. And when Heather and I were thinking about how we could put this format together, it was really important for us to have really strong civil conversations that people really could listen and understand what people's platforms are, how they arrive to decision making, what does success look like, what does and how are we helping people understand the people that they're voting for, right? So we are very grateful for the participation. We are so looking forward to having all of the other candidates on the docket so that we can ask the questions that we need to ask, because Heather and I have a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions.
Oh, you're good too.
Yeah, we're nosy.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and we
Thank you, Chester. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
And thanks everyone for tuning in. I have to get close here so I can press stop. Okay. Sorry. I don't know how to do it. Oh wait, end. Okay, there we go. And